What's up guys, here today showing you how to replace a radiator in a 2002 Lexus IS300. I have already replaced this radiator about 3 months ago, and as you can see, maybe go zoom in, you see it's starting to leak around the seams there, the residue, not to mention this residue, that's this white residue. If you see this stuff around, see on the motor there, all this crap right here. Yeah, it's been leaking, you know, for like a few days, or maybe, yeah, something like that. Anyway, it shouldn't be leaking like this. And so fortunately O'Reilly has a lifetime warranty on their stuff, so I know these radiators are crappy anyway, but when I did my timing belt and water pump, I replaced the radiator and now it is leaking again. I don't know if you can see, but I don't know, straight down there in the splash shield there's some, I mean, there's a little bit of coolant. It's not leaking excessively, but it's leaking a slight bit, and it's kind of pissing me off. So I will show you how to pull it out today. It's very easy. This will work for 2001 through 2005 Lexus IS300s. It's also very similar for the second generation Lexus GS300s and GS400s. Those are made from 97 up to 2004, I believe. Obviously they're not the same body, but the radiators are very similar. So we will get right into it. The first thing you need to do obviously is to jack the car up, get on jack stands, done that already, and then I will show you how to drain the coolant out. Okay, so jack the car up, you're under the car now. You'll see you'll be stopped by this gigantic splash shield, this guy. You'll need to remove it. It's just held on by various 10mm screws. You can see there's one of these screws right here, and there's one right there, and so on and so forth. There's various screws like that around. There's another one back here, and so on and so forth. So you will need to remove this shield. The same thing on the Lexus GS. Just remove all the 10mm screws. Mine is actually held on by some zip ties somewhere else because this plastic shield, you know, has hit many rocks or parking curbs or whatever. So however yours is held on, should just be 10s. Then I'm going ahead and take it off. So I'm going to remove mine now. Okay, now that that's removed, we can go on ahead and drain the coolant. Get yourself a bucket or whatever you need. And if you look right in the back of the radiator, right on the driver's side, there will be this little petcock right here that has like a little wing nut on it. And sometimes these have little rubber hoses that are attached to them. Pretty much you just need to loosen this up, left loose, right tight, and just drain the coolant. You can crack open the radiator cap up top, and that'll help it drain out a little bit faster. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this to drain out some. Okay, you'll have to. Okay, so while that is draining, excuse the noise. We can go ahead and just take off the upper radiator hose. As you can see, mine has a clamp that you'll use pliers, and it also has a screw clamp. So, however yours is on, just remove it. Most likely, it's just 2 clamps. Use pliers. In the case of my screw clamp, I'm going to use a flathead or an 8mm socket to remove it. Do be gentle. I mean, you're going to replace the radiator anyway, but just be careful if you can. Next thing you want to need to do is to disconnect these 2 connectors for the fans. There's just little squeeze tabs. You just squeeze them and pull them off, just like that. Top and bottom for both fans. Sometimes they can be a little stubborn. Okay, got those both off. You can just set them to the side or push them back. There will be a little clip that's holding them into the fan shroud. You'll see there's like a little connector that's down there. Once I take the radiator out, I'll show you. Here, actually, let me just try and show you now. You can see right here, the fan connector will have this kind of a connector on it that's popped into this little hole right here. Sometimes these things are easy, you can just pull them straight up, but if you can't, the proper way to do this is to get a pair of pliers and come from the bottom of the car and squeeze this little tab right here in and squeeze the other side in and then push this out of that hole right here. So, but like I said, once you get that out, you can just tuck this guy over here to the side out of the way. Okay, so continuing on, if you look right here at the ECU box, there's a little plastic connector that goes into the radiator. It's just to help for airflow, to keep the ECU from burning up in there. I pull it off from this box, leave it attached to the radiator shroud, and just pull it off from this box. It's pretty easy to kind of pull it off and then twist it up like so. Just leave it pointing up like that. That way when you pull out the radiator, it'll all just come out as one piece. And pretty much the only thing left to do is to now go back down to the bottom of the car where we'll take off both the transmission cooler lines. There's an inlet and an outlet, and then we'll take off the lower radiator hose as well. Okay, so back under the car here. Sorry again for the coolant still draining. But the only two things the things that you'll need to take off down here are this coolant temperature sensor connector right here. It's just a squeeze tab. You just squeeze it and pull. You just squeeze it and pull it out, just like you did the other tabs for. Just like you did the other tabs for the fan connectors up there. You'll just remove this here. Just let it dangle. You'll remove the clamp or screw clamp for the lower radiator hose and remove the hose. Then there are two other rubber hoses. This is one of them right here for the transmission cooler. This one and that one right there. When you do take those off, they are going to leak transmission fluid, so be prepared and have something to catch it. Alternatively, you can use line clamps or hose clamps. They're like plastic clamps. I'll show you what it looks like. These are what hose clamps look like. They pretty much pinch the line and hold them tight so that nothing else leaks out, or at least not a whole bunch leaks out before you remove them. So I'm going to use them. They just go on like this. They clamp the line and they hold it tight. I use one on that line and I use one on the other line. That way I don't have anything that leaks when I remove those. You still want to have a drain pan under here just in case. Okay, like so. Got both those lines off. Both kind of up out of the way. Said it will keep dripping, so keep something here so it doesn't just drip out all over your driveway or whatever else. I'm going to go on ahead and remove this fan clip. Just like so. And then the only thing left to do now is to take off this lower radiator hose and we'll be good to go. There will be some coolant that comes out of this, so just be prepared to catch whatever comes out. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the drain now. And then now I'm gonna go on ahead and take off this lower radiator hose. Okay, back here at the top. The only thing we have to do that's holding in the radiator that's left is to remove the upper clamps right here. They're held on by 210s, and then you just remove these and you can tilt the radiator forward and pull it up or maneuver it out. A quick tip before you do that though, let me grab the new radiator. Most of the time the new radiator will come with covers or little caps that are holding the transmission lines. Take them off of the new radiator and put them on the old radiator, because there will be a lot of transmission fluid once you tilt this thing forward that's going to want to come out. So it's not going to catch all of it, but you know, it's better than it just running, like I said, running all over your driveway or wherever else you're working at. So just remove those from the new radiator, put them on the old radiator, so that way when you pull it out you can try and catch what you can. Alright, so now we can go on ahead and remove the upper tie downs. They just remove, simple as that. Put the screw back so you don't forget it or drop it. And you see the whole radiator came forward, and I guarantee some of the transmission fluid stuff was going to move forward now as well. So okay, so now you should just be able to pull this thing straight up out of here and, you know, lay it down flat on the ground. Just like so. Tilt it back this way so that way the coolant doesn't all come out. And then you can just lay it down next to your new radiator. Okay, so as you can tell, we got the old radiator over there with the fan still on it. We need to transfer those fans and the coolant temperature sensor over to the new radiator. The new radiator has all the provisions. You can see the transmission cooler lines here, lower radiator hose goes here. There are a few bolt holes right here that hold the fan shroud. There's also a few up top. And then most of them will have a cap right here like this one does, where the coolant temperature sensor needs to go. So you pull it off from right here, that guy right there needs to go over here. This so happens to have an Allen or hex head cap in it. Sometimes, you know, they can just be rubber caps that pull out. Whatever the cap may be, we need to go ahead and pull it out, and then we can transfer this coolant temperature sensor over here. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, that removed just like that. So now to remove the coolant temperature sensor, you need to get yourself a 19 millimeter wrench or 19 millimeter socket, and then just loosen up this coolant temperature sensor from here, just like so. And then you can inspect your O-ring to make sure it's okay. Chances are it's fine. Go on ahead and transfer this over to the new radiator. Tighten that guy up. You don't need to tighten it very hard, it's just plastic, but go on ahead and tighten it up, you know, to where you feel it to be snug. Just like so. And then you can put the old cap into this radiator so a bunch of coolant's not dropping out of it. Okay, that's good to go. Now the next thing you need to do is to remove the fan shroud and transfer it over to this guy. This new radiator should have all of the nuts already in place for the new radiator. So what we're going to do is get yourself a 10 millimeter socket, which is right here already. And if you look at the radiator and how the fan is held on, there's just various 10 millimeter bolts. There's one up top, one right here, and 3 on the bottom. That's the same that's here. So you'll just remove all of those, and then you also need to remove this one rubber overflow from the neck up here. You could just be able to pull that guy off. Just like so. Pull that off. That way when you pull off everything, it'll come off with one piece. So loosen up all the 10s. So now this should hold, lift up, and then you can just transfer it over. Oh, I forgot one. And you can just transfer this whole thing over to the new radiator. Do be gentle. Make sure that everything sits down where it needs to. And you'll just screw this guy back into place. Just the same way you took it off. I'm going ahead and put the overflow back on. Like so. And then now you can go on ahead and just set this entire radiator right back into the car. If you'll notice on the bottom of the radiator, there's two little nipples that sit down into rubber grommets. You'll see them when you look back into the engine bay. These just need to line up and slide straight in. Shouldn't be any issues with that. And then we can put the two clamps back on top to hold the radiator in place. Okay, so as you can see, pretty easy to put the radiator back in. Just go on ahead and put the two clamps that hold the top on. Just like so. While we're up here, we can just go on ahead and reconnect what we took off. If your radiator has this stuff on it, just take it off. There's one down on the bottom hose too. I'll take that off. Going ahead and put the airflow here for the fuse box, or excuse me, the ECU box. Just going ahead and put that little hose back on into place. Just like so. You can reconnect the two fan connectors. Clip that back into its little clip in the bottom down there. Like so. Okay. Put the upper radiator hose back on. Okay, so that guy's back on, and then now we can just go back down to the bottom, connect the coolant temperature sensor switch, and then put the lower radiator hose on and the two transmission lines on. The only thing left to do down here is to put the splash shield back into place. If you remember, it was held on by all the 10mm screws. So we'll go ahead and put that on now. That is the bottom all back together. So pretty much the only thing left to do now is just to fill the radiator back up with coolant. I suggest leaving it up in the air like it is. It makes it easier to bleed the air out of the cooling system. Just fill this back up with the Toyota red coolant, or Lexus, it's Toyota. Fill it back up with the coolant. Top it off all the way to the top here. Then get inside the car and turn the car on. Put the heater to full hot. Put the fan speed to low or medium. And then just let the car idle and run with the cap off. Top it off as necessary. Yeah, just go from there. That should be all you need to do. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. This should only take you about maybe 25 minutes to do, 30 minutes, something like that. So it's definitely something that you guys can do at your house. You don't have to take it to the dealership or take it to the mechanic shop. As you can see, all I used was a 10mm socket and a pair of pliers. So you totally could do this at your house. So yeah, if you like the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time.